I'm Ashley Easter.
And I'm Charlie Grantham, and you're listening to Serendipity,
the podcast where we explore everyday magic all around us. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Serendipity podcast. I am Ashley and Charlie's here with me today. Woo!
Hello.
We have a good episode planned for you all. We're going to be talking about manifestations, and specifically, Charlie has manifested something pretty amazing in her life. And so we're going to talk about that. So it's a little bit of like a news update on Charlie's life. But then she's going to walk us through her manifestation process. So I think if you are struggling to manifest something, or if you want to make your manifestations go faster, pay attention to this episode because we're going to be sharing a lot of great suggestions and ideas that have worked for us. So Charlie, tell us what you have manifested.
Well, I'm so excited. Just to give background, I've probably mentioned it a few times on the show, but I am in graduate school for a master's of public health, and kind of like long story short, I have a bachelor's in sociology, and my like big dream is to have a PhD in sociology and do like medical sociology, specifically like maternal health and reproductive health is my like big passion. But in the middle of that, I went to do a master's of public health to kind of give me more like, I guess, insight and knowledge on like the medical side of things and like public health side of things, because that's kind of why I want to do like medical sociology, to actually like help make like change like in policy and like the way like, you know, tangible change. So that's where I am right now. And I definitely have talked about it on the show because I remember talking about like the USM, because I went to the University of Southern Mississippi, and then now I'm at the University of Southern Maine, and it feels very, I took that as a sign. When I saw the school name, I was like, that's a sign. And so I just started, I work at the university, so I get a tuition waiver. So I immediately, like when I got hired, I started to take classes like almost right away. So I took 2 classes in the spring. They were my first 2 classes. And then I applied in the middle of taking the classes, like to the actual program. So I wasn't actually like accepted into the program until like April or May of last year. And this is like kind of important to know. So I was in the program. I was taking an epidemiology course, and we had a guest lecturer come in April, towards the end of the course. And she is a professor in my program. And I didn't know her. I hadn't had her yet. And she, and I knew like before going into graduate school that I wanted to do a graduate assistantship, because I wanted the experience, and then I wanted it. I thought it would be valuable, you know, for furthering my education later with a PhD, to have that experience. And so she came in, and just like, I didn't really have like a logical reason other than her main area of focus for her research is maternal health, which is what I want to do. And she kind of talked about her, like one of her recent studies. And I was just like, had this strong like pull towards her. And I was just like, I want to work with her. Like, that's who I want to work with. I want to figure it out somehow. And I just had this like big pull. In fact, that was like, I don't know if we've mentioned this on the show, but I actually resigned from being your virtual assistant, Ashley, because I needed, like, I literally was like, I need the extra time in my schedule, because I was like, I need it already to be there in place for when an opportunity arises. Like, there's no sorting it out. It's like there for this position. And I thought it would come later because I just started. Then I got accepted into the program like a few weeks after I heard her speak. And it turns out they assign you advisors. Like, you don't pick your advisor. And they had assigned her to me, or me to her, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is so cool that I got assigned her. And so I immediately emailed her when I got accepted, and I saw she was my advisor, and I asked if I could come to her office just to say hi and meet her, because I like didn't really meet her. I mean, I like, met her in the class that she was
Yeah.
giving the lecture, but it was a class. So I didn't really like meet her. So I wanted to like make a connection and kind of like ask her, talk to her about like my plans and stuff. Didn't mention a graduate assistantship or anything at that time, but just wanted to meet her because I felt like, okay, I want to meet her to like kind of, so she knows who I am in case
Right.
again, an opportunity arises. Um, and then I was thinking, okay, probably like next summer or something. Like I thought it would be like a year from now. Well, I'm taking biostatistics this semester, which like send me all the good vibes for that. But she teaches that course, and she actually emailed at the beginning of August. She emailed the students in that course saying like, "Hi everyone, I have a graduate assistantship available." And gave the details. And I immediately, like, I saw that. First of all, I saw her name come through, and I'm like, oh, I opened the email immediately, and all the details were, I mean, it was just like a dream to me. It's a study on like maternal health. It's basically postpartum, looking at like different conditions and postpartum and rural versus urban areas of Maine. And so just something like that I just am so interested in, and I was so excited. And so I immediately emailed her. I sent her my cover letter, my resume, and I got an interview with her. And it was actually on August 11th, which is the day after or that is your birthday.
That is my birthday.
Yeah, that's your birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, because that was like the whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh, it's on Ashley's birthday, and the interview was at 11 a.m. So I was like, there's a lot of 11 energy happening, and it was your birthday because I was like, okay, I'm gonna harness Ashley's like Leo energy for this. I think I texted you that too. Yeah,
You did. You did.
Yeah, I always forget because my grandma's birthday is the 10th, but yeah, yours is the 11th right after. But anyway, so it went really, really well. And then like a few days later, I was offered the position, and I cried. I couldn't believe it. Well, my first thought was when I got offered it, I was like, I can't do this. It was like the imposter syndrome. It was like, who do you think you are? Like, you can't do this. And I was like, okay, no, like I can do it. And it was just so exciting. And I think people who kind of like know more details about it, like know like how big of a deal this was for me. And I'll share the video I recorded telling Nate, because this was like such a big deal that I was like, I want to tell him in person. And so I actually, like, part of the position is getting to present research at this national conference next June in Portland, Oregon, which is like, again, like so exciting. And so I like put my phone out and I hit it. And so when Nate got home, I was just like being really casual about it. And I was just like, hey, do you think you could like get some time off next June? Like June 13th, 14th, whatever. And he was just like, I don't know, wait, why? And I was like, well, I didn't know if you'd like want to come with me when I present at the National Society for like Pediatrics and Perinatal Care. And his face, like his jaw, like it took him a minute to like process what I said, and he just like freaked out. And I think the video you can kind of like,
it is so cute. It's the best video.
Well, someone texted me and was like, oh my God, I just saw the video. I didn't realize how big of a deal it was to you until I saw how excited Nate was. And I'm like, I know, like it's actually like a really big deal. So I'll share that video because it is really cute. I just like, Nate is so cute. But anyway, so what I kind of did to like manifest this is
wait. Okay, so before you get into the manifesting part, okay, like guys, Charlie is a big deal, okay? I know she's got this imposter syndrome, and I have total empathy towards that. But guys, when you're listening, like, Charlie's a big deal. She is a smart-ass woman. And to be able to get into the school she's gotten into, to be able to get into the programs, have the right advisors, and then for that advisor who is a pretty big deal. Like, people are fangirling at the school about this advisor. For her to then choose Charlie for this internship, like, guys, this is a big deal. And yes, there's manifestation involved. And yes, we're going to talk about this. But also, like, This isn't just something they give out to any old person. Like, Charlie is amazing. So everybody, like, send her congratulations because this is a big deal.
Well, thank you. I will have to like just say thank you to the show called The Midwife, because that is like where I get all my knowledge about like so many things. I'll be like, all I know what that is. And Nate's like, how do you know? And I'm like, I've watched like all 10 seasons, which the 11th season just came out today on Netflix. So I'm
Ooh.
binging that later. But that's like literally how I even said that in my interview. She asked like what area of maternal health I like. And I was like, anything. I was like, my favorite show is called The Midwife. Like I'm just like obsessed with anything. But
Okay,
yeah.
the manifestation part. All right, all right.
Okay. So we've talked some about like ways we manifest. We have like a whole episode on manifestation. But I manifest differently depending on the situation. And I think a big part of that is like just using my intuition and also just like what feels like right to me.
Yeah.
So one thing was that my intuition like told me immediately when I met her, like or not even met her, like when I just heard her speak, again it was yes, like she does do maternal research, and that was like very, that's interesting to me, but it was like more than just like, oh, like maybe I would want to work with her. It was like this, like my mind was like, you have to work with her, like you are going
Mm,
to, like you need to do this. It was like a strong pull. And then of course the more I learned about her, the more I was like, okay, yeah, I have to work with her. But so that was like one thing, is my intuition just was like, this is what you have to do. And I kind of just was like, okay, like what should I do? Like, and so in this situation, I kind of like made room in my life expecting to get it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna like, this part of me was like, oh, well, maybe I should like keep doing the virtual assistant work until that opportunity arises, and then I can like stop. But then I was like, you know what, I was very busy too, like my brain was like kind of
Yeah.
overloaded at the time. But part of me was like, you know what, I think I need to just have it open so that there's no question, that there's no hesitation, that it's just open there. I'm going to have open like 10 hours a week for whatever this is, whenever it is, even though I thought it was going to kind of be like, a whole year maybe before I
Right.
even did that. And so that was like a big thing, because of that I was able to immediately, it's like I replied to her email within like 5 minutes, like just telling her I was
Wow.
interested. And then I took like the whole day or part of the day to do like my cover letter and stuff. But I did reply to her like immediately, because it was like I was waiting for this, basically like my whole like,
Mm,
and like all the energy I created, it was like waiting for this moment, for this to open up, because I'd already carved it out in my schedule that this was going to fit into my schedule. um and emailed her immediately. And then because I did all that, I got to tell her like, hey, I wanted to work with you since like the moment I heard you speak.
mm,
And I literally have already carved out room in my schedule for this. Like, I want you to know that I want to do this very badly. I want to work with you specifically very badly. And I've already like made time in my schedule, like before you even announced this position, because I just
yeah.
wanted it to be ready. So it was almost like getting in, and you've talked about this, Ashley, like getting in the space, like you already have it, like it's already coming for you, like not like, well, maybe it's going to happen. You're like already doing like physical or like making actual change in your life, so that you're making room for what you want.
Yeah.
And you've talked about that, especially with like vision boards. You've talked about that. It's kind of like the same idea that where you said with our vision board episode, you put other things that you've manifested in the past on your vision board, because it gets your mind like in the mindset of like, I have already done this, it's possible, I already deserve this, because
Right.
past examples, like there's evidence. It's almost in a sense like that, because it's like I'm telling myself, this is what this time is for. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like already acting like I'm gonna have it in a way, and not like a cocky like, oh, like, because I definitely was like, couldn't believe that I got it, like when
Sure,
I found out,
sure.
I was just like, oh my
But it's
gosh,
the
is this real?
certainty, the certainty.
Yeah,
And being certain doesn't mean that you're being egotistical. It just means that you're fully trusting and
yeah,
knowing. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
yeah. So that was a big part of it. um Another part too was, I think in that sense, I
Mhm.
kind of um was being very specific and like making tangible change, and it was like very like almost I would say like strategic what I was doing.
Mhm.
Prior leading up to this, though I didn't fully know like what I needed to do, but like I didn't know that I knew I wanted a graduate assistantship. I didn't
Yeah.
know this person yet. I didn't know what it was going to be in. But just to give some background, this is research assistantship is like doing statistical like analyses,
Mhm.
and I probably have talked about it. I think I have on the show. If not, I'll give like a little background. So I am math anxious. Like it's not
Yeah.
even that I'm bad at math. It's that I get very nervous, and I have for a very long time. Um, Part of that is there's like a big like I can tell where it happened in my life. Like I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really good at math. I was really good at school. I wasn't anxious about it from like
Mhm.
kindergarten to fourth grade. And then in fourth grade, Hurricane Katrina, I'm from New Orleans, hit and we got evacuated. I had to go to this school that, you know, it's already like hard being like uprooted from where you live when you're like 10. And then
Right.
now my parents, like we were there for a while and we had like a lot of family in one house, and then they're like, well, we don't know how long we're going to be here, so y'all have to go to school. And I got put into a school, and the school that I come from in New Orleans was very small, and you
Mhm.
had one teacher for every subject. But in this school, you changed like there was like a bell
Oh,
and
got
you
it.
moved around like I think like a lot of normal schools. And that was very overwhelming, and I was entering in, the school year had already started, and I
Yeah.
was like the new kid, and it was like a very different environment. The teachers were like kind of like really mean, and like
Mm.
lots of yelling, like a lot of the
Ooh.
teachers yelling at students. Like it was very very like it was horrible, and I actually got physically ill from the stress. And
Mm.
that's when my mom realized that my brother and I were so stressed, because he was actually I think a freshman in high school, which is like whoop, that's like a bad time I feel like to be like uprooted and like put into a
Yeah,
different
yeah.
high school. But
For
um
sure.
like she realized how stressed we were, to the point of like we were getting physically ill because of
Mm.
how much stress. And so she pulled us out. And so that was like a big thing. And then school was different that year, even when we came back, because like I don't think we had PE the whole year, because like
Mm.
there was damage to certain parts of the building, or I don't know. It was just like a very different year because it was a very traumatic, it was a catastrophic event. And so everything was a lot different. I had family that lived there in the city, and then they moved, like some
Yeah.
very far away, like some all the way to North Carolina. And so, you know, a lot of things changed that year. And then at the end of the fourth grade year, my parents decided to like take me out of school. And this is like I actually like never really tell people this because it makes me so anxious. But so I the options were like we're gonna take you out of the school. And so the public schools in New Orleans like really aren't that good, like in terms of
Mhm.
not just in terms of like education, but like just in terms of like violence and stuff. And
Got
so
it.
they didn't really want to put me into like a public school, but they couldn't afford to keep me in a private school. And so they were like, oh, there's a magnet school. You just have to test to get in.
Mm.
And this is like after like all of that, you know. And when I tested, I did like great on everything, but I think because you have to like test above average to get in,
Got it.
I tested like above average on everything but math. And I don't even think I scored bad. Like I think it was like average or something.
Right.
And my parents had told everybody like I was taking this, like telling everyone to pray and whatever. And
Oh
it
gosh,
was
that's
just really,
pressure.
yeah, it was just like very, I just remember like that was it. That was like the moment that I was
Oh,
never the same with math again. Like it was like,
yeah.
I don't want to like, because it was just like this thing. And so then I had to be homeschooled because of that. And so
Right.
I didn't really enjoy being homeschooled. It was just kind of like lonely, and I don't feel like I
Yeah.
really like learned a lot of like math, especially
Mhm.
that you would normally learn fifth, sixth, and seventh grade. And so
Right.
because of that, when I started eighth grade at my high school, because my high school went eighth through 12th,
Yeah, you're doing catch
um,
up.
right. And I was not catching up because it was like I already didn't have stuff that like other people had been learning. I didn't actually
Mm.
learn. And so I was just doing really bad. And then because of
Yeah.
that, my brain, it was like a physical response. I would just shut down to like
Mm.
math. And so it was like really hard. That was like the main thing, like in high school, that I really struggled with was math. And I just was like,
Mm.
I'm just bad at math. that's just it. Like I'm bad at math and whatever. And then I got into college. I was like, I want nothing to do with math. Like, you can pick what you
Right.
want to do in
Right.
college. So I was like, I'm not picking math. I took like 2 math classes in college. But then I got interested in sociology and I had to take a statistics class. And I did actually okay. Like I made a B in it. Um,
Mhm.
which, before like in high school I was making like C's in math.
Right.
But I was still very anxious. And so now here I am. I knew I was going to have to, take more math classes in this graduate program. And I had like it was a huge part of therapy. Like honestly still is. Like my next appointment this week, I'm probably going to talk about it. But one of the things that I did before I started, I was registered for class.
Yeah.
And I knew in epidemiology, there is some math involved. And so I was just like, I don't know, maybe I just shouldn't do it. I think that's in part how it's like an anxiety thing, because it's not like,
Right.
oh, that makes me a little anxious. Like I'm a little worried. It's like a full, like, I literally thought I just shouldn't do it. I just shouldn't go to
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
period. I should find another path
Mhm.
in life, because there's like 1 or 2 classes I'm going to have to take with math.
Right.
And like when I take a math quiz, like even a quiz, it could be worth like 1 point. My whole body locks up. I get like knots in my
Mhm.
back. I'm sweating. I want to vomit. Like it's so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And so this is all important. I sounds like a tangent, but so I told my therapist, like, listen, and I told her all of that. And I was like, I am so scared and I don't want to be scared. I want to be able to do it because you know what? I feel like I am smart. The more I talked about it, I'm like, you know what? All of those things happened to me. I was actually good at math until
Mm.
like these like clustered events, like, a traumatic event like a
Right.
hurricane, and then a
Yeah.
traumatic event like failing the test, or not even failing
Right.
it, but like, and then being homeschooled, and it wasn't my fault.
Right.
And I was like, I it's a mindset. Like it really is a mindset. I need help
Mm.
because I can't go into school like this. Like I can't do it.
Right.
And so we really worked through it. She did this amazing meditation, like guided meditation with me, where I don't even remember it, but I was just like sobbing. Like by the end of it, I was just like full tears. And that really helped me so much, like working in therapy. And then, I actually did really well. I got an A in the epidemiology class, and I had like way less anxiety about it. And all of that to say, I knew that like my intuition knew that this was something that needed to be addressed.
Mm. Yeah.
I probably could have made it through the program, not
Mhm.
addressing it, and just getting like really anxious all the time. Anytime I had to
Right.
do math, and like feeling like that and feeling like I can't do it. And it would have been a much more miserable experience. But my intuition knew that this is something that can no longer be like pushed, because I was just pushing it under the rug. I was like,
Yeah.
avoid, avoid,
Yeah.
avoid. And my intuition was like, no, we're not going to avoid this. This has to be dealt with. And then you're going to do math, basically.
Mm.
And I think to some people it might sound silly, but I think a lot of people have anxiety around
Yeah.
math,
Yeah, no,
especially
I
the
think
way
so,
it's taught.
especially women, the way,
Yeah.
people have ideologies about women and math. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so all of that to say, that was almost a year ago that I did work through all that with my therapist. Like the big meditation and all that was
Mhm.
probably like 10 months ago or something. And what I'm doing is this graduate assistantship is math. That's what it is. Like it's
Mhm.
statistics. And I don't think if I would have worked on myself the way I did and worked through that in therapy,
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been in the space to say like, yes, I can do it, and like be
Mm.
brave, like take the risk. Cause I mean, it really is, to me, it feels
Yeah.
like a risk.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have been had I not listened
Mhm.
to my
Mhm.
intuition. And because it was
Yeah.
like almost so painful. The way I'm telling you right now, really could barely talk about it before. I think
Yeah.
maybe Nate was the only person who really knew, because I couldn't get it
Wow.
out without actually crying. And I feel like right now I'm fine, but I can feel tears in the back of my eyes, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's a sensitive topic. And I normally wouldn't tell people, but because I was able to do that, you can kind
Mm.
of see looking back how it was like little by little putting me in, the position. And with all of that, I am going to be taking an elective statistics class next semester. That's one that I'm choosing to take. This one that I'm taking this semester is like I have to take it,
Mhm.
but I've chosen to take a statistics class with my advisor next semester, and that is the
Wow.
opposite of what I would have done before. I would run so far as I could for math, and I would like literally I would just be like avoid it at all costs. And so the fact that I even feel confident enough to be like, I don't have to do this, but I think I'm gonna do it. Um, so that's just like kind of shows like I think when it kind of got down to the very like close
Yeah.
time frame of like, okay, this could happen soon, it's when it became very strategic and I had a clear vision. But even like I didn't have a clear vision before, I was
Mhm.
just listening to my gut. I was listening to my intuition
Yeah.
tell me we're doing this because it's all setting up like the dominoes, right? Like right before,
Yes.
and so I think this kind of shows two ways to manifest, and that you can
Mm.
manifest one thing with different methods. And
Yep.
oftentimes you do use different methods, because if I'm anxious about like an event, I won't
Mhm.
manifest by like changing something physical. I'll manifest by
Right.
like writing and typing out how I want the event to go.
Right.
But I
Scripting. Yeah.
Right, but for this, it was like my intuition knew like that's not what I'm gonna use for this. I'm gonna just like physically make the time open. I'm physically kind of act like I'm ready to receive it. Um, so I feel like that was a really long story, but I
No,
felt like all of that was
it
needed.
was.
Information was needed.
Yeah, and if you saw me looking down, it was because I was taking some notes because there were so many good things that you were saying in there. And number one, I just love what you've manifested at the end. That's amazing. But I think you've really highlighted how there are different tools you can use. Um, but it still goes back to the four main steps of manifesting. And
Hmm.
each of those four different steps, there's different ways you can work those. And so I was hearing those like the whole time. So, like, number one was setting the intention. And you set the intention of what you wanted to do based on your intuition. Like, you had that, I'm supposed to work with this person. And you felt certainty about it. You trusted that. You were like, this is an intention I'm setting, and I know my intuition was like, this is what you need to do. So that's like step number one, is setting that
Hmm.
intention. And I had a question about that one. Do you feel like that was, did it feel, um, when you knew you're supposed to work with that person, did it feel like precognition in that like you knew what was going to happen, or did it feel more like I can't put my finger on it, but I know I'm supposed to do something with her? Or was it more precognitive of like we're actually going to work together? I'm just kind of curious.
I think I was like, this is who I want to do a graduate assistantship
Okay.
with, because
Okay.
I knew I wanted to do one, and I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, because I was just new to the program. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And then the fact that she came in the class, and that was my thing was like, I think that is who I'm gonna do. It was specifically
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
then it was like 2 weeks later that she was assigned to be my advisor. And that was like a
Amazing.
confirmation of what I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so now I already have like, a reason to talk to her because she's my
Mhm.
advisor. And that's what I did. I emailed her with an advisor question. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm new. You're my advisor. I was wondering if I could just stop by your office for like a few minutes. And that's
Uh-huh.
how I like kind of got the end. But yeah, it
Got
was
it.
a pre like cognitive, like that's who I'm gonna work with type
Oh,
of thing.
I love that. I love that. And that can usually show up in the first step of setting the intention. That can go one of two ways. It can be like a precognitive, like, this is what's going to happen, or
Hmm.
my intuition is telling me to set an intention about this. But yours was like super, kind of on the side of like, yeah, that instant certainty, which is like awesome. The second step of manifestation is removing blockages. And you did that through going to therapy. And I also hope that people listening realize that, like, yes, you did therapy for some specific things, like around trauma around math. And that was really important. But you did that before you even knew why that was going to be important. So
Right.
you just have your intuition tuned to a place where it gives you these nudges of like, hey, this is something to work on. And you don't even necessarily know why you need to work on it. It's before you even had set the intention of what you wanted to do. And I think that's a lesson to people listening. Like, you may not know why your intuition is saying, hey, work on this relationship, or hey, work on this issue that you have coming up or adjust this mindset, you might know that you need to clear that block because you already have the intention set. Or it's possible that clearing that block opens up a completely different path that you never would have even considered. So, you set the intention with your intuition. You had your intuition guide you to remove blockages and mindsets. And then the third step of
Well, actually, can I just
manifesting.
make a
Yeah,
comment?
yeah.
Because that is really good that you brought that up. It reminded me of something too. Um, in therapy, when I brought it up to my therapist, she said, well, you don't have to be good at math. And this is a really important part, I think.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
like, I think a lot in our society, it's like we equate people who like math or good at math as they're smart. And the people who aren't very good at math or don't
Right.
enjoy math are not smart. She's like, that's not true. And I'm like, that's really important because it is true that that's how kind of society operates.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be good at math. And it's totally fine if you don't like math and if you're not good at it, because probably part of the reason people aren't good at it is because the way it's taught. It's usually taught in like just
Mhm.
a bad way. Like it's not the teaching methods for it. Like it's just not a lot of students don't learn that way. A lot of people don't
Yeah,
process
yeah.
information that way. And so you don't have to be. But in that moment when she told me that, one, that was really important for me to kind of like realize that, hey, it's kind of like set up. That's also like kind of like a patriarchal thing because like
Yeah.
it used
Yeah,
to, like
the
you
game's
brought up,
rigged.
right. But also when she said that, I thought, oh, okay, like I don't have to be good at math. Like, and that doesn't mean that I'm not smart. That doesn't mean like I have realized all
Yeah.
these things that I internalized that I didn't know. But after I came to that realization, I thought, I don't have to be, but I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to
Mm.
understand it. I want to be able to not feel so anxious when math comes up because it was like math couldn't even come up in a conversation or I'm like, oh my God, like, it was
Yeah.
very like it just provoked a lot of anxiety in me. And I even with her saying that, my intuition still knew we're still going to work through this. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to be good at math, but you're going to need this. So,
And that
yeah.
almost takes the pressure off. And I think
Yeah.
that's some of the subtle mindset tweaks that really work for a lot of stuff in life.
Mhm.
Manifesting doing well in math, even before, this whole program and everything, like some of it was just taking off that pressure that you have to be good at it. And when
Right.
you took that off, then there was a desire that came through from a genuine place
Mhm.
versus a pressure that you have to do it. And now you've gotten some good grades in math and you're going into other classes with somebody who's specialized in math. And so, like, just even that little mindset tweak released you to be able to tap into some desires that were kind of hidden over because of all that pressure piled
Right.
on you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
I
point.
love
Yeah.
that. Um, yeah, so you set an intuitive intention. You had your intuition guide you to change mindsets and work through blocks. And then three is taking aligned action. And you did that in multiple places based on your intuition. So number one, you made space. And that's one of the laws of the universe is the universe abhors a vacuum. So when you take something out of space, the universe wants to fill it with something else. So if you don't have any room for something in your life, um, it's going to be hard for you to attract things to fill places that you don't have any space to fill. So that's like following a law of the universe there.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was amazing. But then um, you took initiative, you took aligned action to go meet with this woman who you
Mhm.
respected after class. And that sounds like an aligned interaction. It sounds like it was super aligned when you got that email and you immediately responded and was like, hey, I'm going to send my attachments later of my resume, all this stuff.
Mhm.
But I want you to know that I've already created space in my life for this and I'm ready to go. Like, all of those things are aligned action. And it wasn't that there wasn't some fear involved in there, but you claimed the certainty that your intuition gave. You had removed the blocks to a point where maybe they're still a little uncomfortable, maybe there's
Mhm.
still a little anxiety around math, but to a point where it's not holding you back and shutting it down, which allowed you to take aligned action. And the fourth step is just releasing it to the universe. And there were so many other things because you moved things energetically that now they're just clicking in place. And the other thing about manifestation is it's good to say this or something better instead of boxing your
Mm,
manifestation in.
I
And you
love that.
kept an openness about it because not only was it the this thing you wanted, but it is something better and something that you didn't even imagine. So you kept your perspective open. And people manifest in different ways, but those four core things you've shown a bunch of different examples about how you can do those four steps, and you got exactly what you wanted and over the top more. I mean, I really hope people listening to this, I mean, that was a real challenge you overcame, and
Yeah.
points where you really, it would have been easy to be like, oh, I'll never get this, I'm not going to reach out or send an email, or she wouldn't want to talk to me, and so you didn't make that time to, just meet up. Like, there's so many things that you could have just not done, but you listened to your intuition the whole time, and look where you are. I mean, amazing. What else is going to come from this? Ripple
And
effect.
this is so serendipitous because oh my gosh, I'm like looking at my phone because you said so be it or even better. And I actually, so I, let me see if it's in here. Oh my gosh. So my therapist, I can't remember exactly. I think it was the end of, here it is. I found it. I wrote a poem.
Okay.
My therapist had said, she said, and so shall it be, or even better. That was one of the things she told me as a
Mm.
mindset thing. And so it's so interesting. I when she said it, it kind of like growing up, you might think this too, actually. It reminded me of like religion because and prayer
Yes.
because so be it is like what
Uh-huh.
amen means or whatever.
Yeah.
And so right after that, I wrote a poem because I felt very inspired by that. I was like, oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I literally wrote this poem. Um, and I totally forgot about it until you said that. And I
Oh
totally
my
forgot
gosh.
she told me that. And this was around the time of the whole math thing with her, with sharing with my therapist. And oh my gosh, like, should I read this? Like it's a
Yeah, read the
short
poem.
poem.
Read the poem
Okay,
right
I
now. I
haven't
can't wait.
okay. Okay, so it says, and so it shall be, or even better. Those are the words my therapist gave to me today, a mantra, a prayer, an intention to end my affirmations with. So be it, or even better. I attract beautiful things, they flow to me like water. I'm worthy of kind words. I give and receive them in the same way the earth and moon pull on each other. My very being calls forth positive experiences the way God herself called the universe into existence. My aura invites peace into my life the way friends invite each other to share a meal. I exist in harmony with the universe, with the water, the trees, the sky, the stars. We exist together for each other. I dance through life gracefully and bravely, not unafraid, no, but bravely. I am given a challenge, messy, chaotic, jumbled. I create with my hands a masterpiece. I am the masterpiece, and so it shall be, or even better. I have like
Oh
chills
my
right now because
god.
that is part of the
I'm getting
manifestation. I feel like that is part of this whole thing. And the fact that
Oh,
you brought it up and I totally forgot. And I don't think I ever told you that because
wow.
I,
No, no.
yeah.
You showed me some poems, but I don't think you showed me that one. Wow. That's
Wow,
like,
that is like,
oh,
yeah, that's serendipitous. That's so
wow.
crazy. And that was like a deep memory. I forgot about that. And when you said that, I was like, I've heard that somewhere before. And I
Yeah.
remembered. And so I immediately went to my phone.
Oh my gosh. You have
Um,
to post that on our page so people can just see it in writing too.
okay.
Like however you want to put it up, but like so people can read it that way. Also, I mean, it number one, it's a beautiful poem, but like it is exactly this, and it was right at the
Yeah.
beginning when you were busting through blocks that had to do with this
Yeah.
thing you're manifesting. You didn't even. Wow.
Yeah. And I think I
Wow. Wow.
also
Wow.
just want to say too, I really recognize the privilege I have in this. The fact that I first of all go to therapy is like a privilege. A lot of people can't afford to go, or even if they can afford to go, they aren't in a supportive environment to where they don't think they need to go when they do need to
Yeah.
go. And I like am very, very like lucky. I'm very privileged to be able to afford that, to be able to do that. Secondly, I know it's also a privilege to be able to kind of like do some of the things that I did, like the fact that I was able to resign from working with you for that period.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought it was going to be a year. I think I'm really lucky because I have Nate who works. I mean, he's really the main like breadwinner now, and
Yeah.
I'm able to work. I work at the university, which like definitely I wouldn't be able to do without Nate being able to, do what he does,
Mhm.
because it doesn't pay like that much.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I worked there, I was able to like immediately like meet her as soon as she became my advisor. I was able to just like walk over to her office. So it's like another thing I sometimes think about, like, wow, if I was in a different position, this would have been definitely like more
Yeah.
difficult. And I definitely see how it could be like, so I definitely want to acknowledge that too, because that's part of it. But having said that, it is also really exciting for me. And I have like actual chills, which is so funny. I'm like wearing like a sweater and a like long sleeve shirt, and I have chills from the sociality, or even better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I
I
love
love
that. And
that.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, because um, it is important to notice privilege. And I was just checking on my phone because I'm going to have to find the page, but there is a. I went through a manifestation course with Catherine Zankina,
Mhm.
um, and she had a woman come in and do like a guest module. She was a African American woman talking about how black and brown people can manifest, um, also looking at the like trauma that
Yeah.
a lot of black and brown people have experienced, and how sometimes the blocks and challenges are different, and like really honoring and respecting that. And so I 100% agree, and I'm going to try to find that,
Okay. Yeah.
and link that in maybe the show notes, because
Mhm.
I think that's a really good point with manifesting. I don't think that it means that manifesting is inaccessible for people who
Mhm.
aren't white, but I
Mhm.
do think that there's like extra factors to be aware of because we do live in a white privilege type of
Yeah.
society. But this
Yeah.
woman does a lot of work around that, and so I'm gonna defer to her because she
Is the
knows how to
expert.
say it a lot better. Yeah, yeah, she's
Yeah.
an expert.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
that's a
Yeah.
good
We'll
point.
link that and put it on our Instagram too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, wow, I'm just so excited for you, and um, yeah, I hope anybody who's listening, if you've had like a serendipitous manifestation like this, please share it with us.
Mhm.
We would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a couple different ways you can do that. So you can either send us an email or share it with us as a direct message on Instagram. So Instagram, we are serendipity.pod. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And I'm dyslexic. And then our email is pod.serendipity@gmail.com. And you can send us either an audio or a written form of your serendipitous story, was manifestation, or any of the other topics that we cover here. And we would be really excited to read those. And a lot of times we will share them on the show. So that would be really cool. And then, yeah, I know we've got some new listeners. I know that this is a super exciting thing for Charlie. So go ahead to our Instagram and like congratulate Charlie. Let her know personally how excited you are for her, because this is a big deal. And then if you want to leave us a review, you can do that too. All you have to do is just go to Apple Podcasts, and before you hit submit on your review, take a screenshot, email it to us, and we will give you a free gift, which is custom serendipity artwork. So
It's so
pretty
pretty.
cool
It has
stuff.
butterflies on it. You
Mhm.
can also, Spotify has a rating where you don't like, I don't think you can actually leave a written review yet, but you can give a rating like out of 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
So if
Okay.
you're listening on Spotify, you can do that on there too.
Cool.
Um,
Cool.
because that would be nice too.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Yes. Yes. Happy manifesting, everybody. I hope that you learned
Yes.
some cool tips. And Charlie, I truly cannot wait to see, because I think this is just the beginning. Like, this is meant to be. And so, I mean, I can only imagine what's going to happen next.
Well, thank you. And thanks for listening, everyone.